Hello students, now today we are going to start the new chapter, chapter number 10, friction. So in this chapter we will study about the friction, which is a type of contact force. First of all students, let's take some examples, like if we are having a ball and we kicked the ball, so the ball comes in motion. But after some time the ball come to rest, or we can say it will stop moving. Why is it? Because actually whenever a body comes in contact with some another surface, like this is the ground, then a force is generated which act in opposite direction of its motion, and this force is friction. Next one, when a person is there who is on the cycle and continue pedaling the cycle, then if the person stop paddling, then the cycle will stop. Why the cycle will stop? Because between the tires and the surface, an opposite force is acting which resists the motion or opposes the motion of the object, due to which finally the cycle stops. So this is due to this opposite force, it is called friction. So what is friction force? Friction is a type of contact force which act between two surfaces, two objects in contact with each other. Okay, and this force always act in opposite direction to the motion of the object. Like if the object is moving in this direction, then the friction force, it acts in the opposite direction. I'm just representing the friction force with a small f. Similarly, if the bicycle is moving in forward direction, the friction force between the tires, it is acting in opposite direction, that is in backward direction. So due to this, the speed or the motion of the bicycle stops on paddling. Okay, if paddling is stopped, then the bicycle will also stop after some time. So what is friction? We can say when a surface of one body moves on the surface of another body or comes in contact with another surface, then a force is generated in opposite direction which opposes the motion of the object, and this is called the friction force. Students, generally the friction force is means more over the rough surface as compared to the smooth surface. You have seen that it is very easy for us to walk on a rough surface as compared to a very smooth surface. Now, what are the characteristics of friction force? So, there are certain characteristics of friction. First thing, the friction force is only acting or only present when the two bodies are in contact with each other. So that's why the bodies must be in contact with each other for the friction. So body must have contact with other body, or we can say one body or one object must have contact with the other surface also, or other bodies. Okay, means both if two objects are moving, both must have contact with each other. Second one is, this force always acts in opposite direction. So the friction force always act in the opposite direction of motion. So if object is moving this side, then it is acting this side in the backward direction, and it tries to bring the object to rest. Third one is, the bodies, when surfaces comes in contact with each other, then it causes wear and tear of the surfaces of contact of bodies. Like you can see that if tires are coming in contact with the surface, that is ground, then sometime आपने देखा होगा जो टायर्स है वो घिस जाते हैं, है ना, उन इसके अलावा जो रोड होती है, सड़क होती है, कंटिन्यूसली जब व्हीकल्स निकलते हैं, गुजरते हैं उसके ऊपर से, तो सड़क भी कहीं पे उस पर गड्ढे बन जाते हैं कई बार, इफ़ द मटेरियल इज़ नॉट गुड। और अगर मटेरियल गुड है, देन आफ्टर अ लॉन्ग टाइम इट हैपन्स, it is due to the friction only. Okay, also the machine parts which are continuously rubbing each other, they get damaged. This is due to the friction. So these are some characteristics, like it causes wear and tear of objects at the surface of contact. Okay, students. So actually the main thing is that, one more thing is that, friction is also responsible for causing a heating effect. It causes heating of the surfaces of in contact also. It gives, like if you are going to rub your two hands, just start rubbing both of your hands with each other, then you will see that you will feel a heating effect. Okay, even mechanical energy against friction, it is also released in the form of heat. So whenever the machine parts are there which comes in contact with each other due to continuous rubbing, the heat energy is produced, or heat is produced. Okay, students. Now students, we will study about the different type of friction forces. The friction are of different type, like the static friction, like the sliding friction, like the rolling friction. Fluid friction is also there. We will study one by one all these. Number one is the static friction. What is static friction? So whenever the two surfaces are in contact with each other and there is no relative movement between them, like a surface is there and it is ground, and on this surface a huge block or iron block or wooden block is there. A person is there which tries to means push this block but not able to push this block. So in this case, both the surfaces are in contact with each other, but there is no relative movement between both the surfaces, means the block is not moving. So actually static friction, over here which friction force is there? It is static friction. Static friction is that amount of friction force, means at the instant when the object moving from its state of rest, object will start. ठीक है, जैसे कि मैं एक बहुत ईजी से एग्जांपल बताती हूँ. मान लेते हैं कि यहाँ पे ये फ्रिक्शन, मतलब ये वुडन ब्लॉक है वो रखा हुआ है सरफेस पे, और यहाँ पे क्या है, एक पर्सन है इसको मूव करवा रहा है. शुरू में मूवमेंट बिल्कुल भी नहीं हो रहा है, ब्लॉक है वो बिल्कुल भी मूव नहीं कर रहा है. लेकिन एज सून एज ये पर्सन है, ये क्या है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फोर्स अप्लाई कर रहा है, एक ऐसा इंस्टेंट आएगा या एक ऐसा टाइम आएगा जब ये थोड़ा सा और फोर्स बढ़ाएगा तो ये मूव करने लग जाएगा. तो जस्ट बिफोर इट स्टार्ट मोशन है ना, द अमाउंट ऑफ फ्रिक्शन फोर्स ऑन द wooden block by the surface in opposite direction, it is called the static friction. Like when you are we can say that if we are pushing a heavy box on floor, then the force we apply on it to make it start to come in motion, to make it start moving on floor, represents the static friction. So it is the static friction when the object tends to just start its motion. Students, second one is the sliding motion. Sliding friction. Sliding friction is the type of friction in which if a block is there and the block is continuously moving. A block is there and the block is moving, since it is on the floor and a person is there which is pushing it, and due to which the block is continuously in motion. So the block is continuously moving, the person is applying force on the block. तो उस टाइम पे कंटिन्यूसली विद द सेम स्पीड अगर ब्लॉक है वो क्या है, फिसलता जा रहा है इसी सरफेस पे, एट दैट टाइम द फ्रिक्शन force in the opposite direction of the motion, this is called the sliding friction. So it is actually the value of static friction is always greater than the sliding friction, because it is very easy to move a moving object, मीन्स टू कंटिन्यू मूव मूविंग ऑब्जेक्ट, क्योंकि ये पहले से मूव कर रहा था फिर इस पे फोर्स लगा रहे तो ये क्या है, कंटिन्यू मोशन में ही रहेगा. लेकिन एक ऑब्जेक्ट है जो ऑलरेडी रेस्ट में, उसको मूव करवाने में ज़्यादा फोर्स है वो लगता है. That's why the value of static friction is always greater than the sliding friction, because it is easy to move an already moving object than moving a stationary object. Now the third type of friction is the rolling friction. What happens in rolling friction? Actually, suppose a body is and it is having the tires. If a person is pushing it, then the object will move very slowly. Why? Because the tire rolls on the surface. So that's why the resistance produced or the friction force on the tires, it is comparatively lesser, because less surface is in contact with the ground. So that's why the rolling friction means it will move easily as compared to the object at rest or a continue moving object. It is very easy to make such type of body in motion because it is having the tires. So rolling friction, it is the resistance produced, means at that time the friction force, it is called as rolling friction. So the resistance produced when a rolling body move over a surface, and the rolling friction is comparatively more means lesser in magnitude, lesser in amount as compared to sliding and static friction. Even we can take example like small wheels in the suitcase, they are having very less friction, so we can easily carry heavy luggage. Even ball bearings are there in the machine parts, the ball bearings are there, and these ball bearings convert the sliding friction in the rolling friction, due to which the motion of the object is easy, and it also prevents wear and tear of the object. Now students, the third type of the friction, fourth type of friction is called the fluid friction. This type of fluid friction, we can see it in the fluids. Fluids means liquids, as well as in gases. So fluid friction is such type of force which opposes the movement of object in the liquid. For example, like if we are having two glasses, one is filled with water and the other glass is filled with honey. Here honey is there and here water is there. It will be, if we are having a spoon, then it is very easy for us to stir the water as compared to the honey, because the honey is more thicker as compared to water, so it is having more friction. So that's why it opposes the stirring of the spoon. Even the air also exerts force on the moving objects. For example, very good example, like when we stop paddling the bicycle, then if the air is moving in opposite direction, in that case also the bicycle stop moving. Okay, so over there in the motion of bicycle, rolling motion is there. Rolling friction will act also, as well as the friction due to air also is there. Similarly, in the water, we know that in the water, suppose this is a boat. So if the boatman stop rolling it, it is not the boatman is stopped rolling the water, then in rowing the water, then the means friction force is exerted on the boat. Suppose it is moving in this direction and the person stop rowing the boat, so in this case the boat will stop after some time, because the surface of water is also applying friction force on the boat. That's why this is the fluid friction. Boat, ships, aeroplanes, etc., they are in, their shape is streamlined, so that they are able to capable to overcome the friction of the water. So students, these are the different type of frictions. Kindly read them from the book also and then ask questions.